Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Yes, indeed, we are back. Of course, it's not a Monday, it's a Tuesday, given the fact that yesterday was Paddy's Day. I seem to be the only one that actually is wearing green today. That was not by design, let it be said. But I'm great. It's great to say we are joined once again by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons and Sam Tweed of BresBet, their trading manager. We'll have lots to discuss with the two men because on Saturday night, the BresBet Easter Cup got underway at Shelbourne Park. Great competition, the oldest competition on the calendar, the oldest classic on the calendar, and some exceptional performances, a couple of shocks, and well, let's just say a little bit of controversy and drama. Let's get straight into it. Sam, it's good to have you back on board BresBet. This is year number 4. Later on in the program, we will actually get a chance to talk to Carl Perry, one of your colleagues, about the history of the stake. But I suppose as a sponsor, you only want to be dealing with the best greyhounds. And the last 3 years of your reign, shall we say, we've seen Susie Sapphire, Swords Rex, and Clonbrine Treaty. Not a bad trio, and it just so happens one of them is back this year.
Yeah, we certainly can't complain. It's one of those when the draw's made every year, you look at the first heat and you think, wow, that's a cracker. And then you keep going all the way through, and it was the same again this year.
Yeah, indeed. From a sponsorship point of view, that's what you want. You want people talking about the very best of dogs. And Tommy, that was the case. While it's down to 36 greyhounds, or it is 36 greyhounds, it's more about quality than quantity. And this year's competition again stacked from top to bottom.
Yeah, but the important thing is to me, it now kickstarts the year because we had the Togo Gold Cup, which is a good competition, but like we're up to Derby distance now, and we're beginning to talk about and think about Derby, which just seems almost ridiculous. But that's what the Easter Cup does. It's kind of the first sign of the year. It's kind of it's the springtime. It's the springtime, and it's time to start getting serious about the greyhound racing now. All the other good competitions are going on around the place over the next couple of weeks as well. So it's big time.
Yeah, of course. And it's almost like a little sort of prize to the established performers. Here you go. Take your chance to win another classic before we introduce the youngsters coming through, because you'll have the dogs and the likes of Clonmel, Tralee. We saw last night some fantastic performances in Enniscorthy. Kilkenny will be on the horizon sooner rather than later. And then all of a sudden they get thrown into the pot in the middle of the summer, and that's when things really start to get interesting. But as we said, a great Easter Cup to look forward to. From a bookmaking point of view, Sam, did you have much business prior to the start?
Uh, it tends to follow the same trend every year, mate, where we kind of lay bits and bobs and then it really starts and explodes from this round onwards. I think, like I said, people look at how difficult it is. And not only that, you've just touched on it, it feels like kind of the start of the season. People don't know what's fully tuned up yet. They run themselves into fitness. So we saw bits and bobs, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, of course. We saw the likes of the laddie da. He was having his first run of the year. Dogs like that, Callaway Kinnegaird only had the one run. Swords Don was like, this is just the first heat alone. Swords Don, Tarzan Massa, all having their first run of the year. So I suppose it's hard to get really stuck in, but you do get a gauge from where dogs are at from that opening round. Like certain dogs, like, just off the top of my head, like Clonbrine Treaty, shall we say, the defending champion, like he's coming back from injury. He faded home. Untold Dollar looked like he was at least 2 runs shy, of where he needs to be. So dogs like that will progress, but it's a case of making sure they do actually progress in the competition, or else they won't have a chance to show their best before the end. But they're still there, and I suppose that's where the punters will come in going, "Oh, that dog's going to improve a little bit. He might be a bit of value. Let's take a chance."
Definitely, and I think obviously two of them you mentioned there, Untold Dollar, Dilardidar, they both snuck through in fourth place, which from now on that's not good enough. You've got to be in the top three. And I think Dilardidar showed so much pace from the first bend to the third bend. He seemed to fade out of it a little bit after that, but he certainly looks like a dog who's going to improve next week.
Yeah, he's what they call a proven performer, as we well know. Tommy, from an opening round point of view, I suppose I had a bit of everything. We'll get to the elephant in the room a little while, but let's talk about the joint fastest runs on the card. When I looked at the anti-post book, you look at the top 3 in the market were, the likes of Callaway, Kinnegaird, the Laddie Da, Boyle Sports Bob. You're going, well, where's the blistering early speed? So you automatically glance down through the stake because, proof is in the pudding. Early speed wins these types of competitions, and it was no fluke that the first two heats were won by the greyhounds that went round in front. Tarzan Masai again back ready to shine straight away. Jeff Parnaby has obviously had plenty of work done with this fella. He's been doing plenty of galloping because he showed no signs of rustiness when he got out front. And the second heat, of course, won by Hope's Teddy, who I think we need to have a discussion about. But I suppose early speed already coming to the fore.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and Tarzan Massa actually surprised me. Fairness to BresBet, I see he's 14 to 1. Are they up to his price? I think they are. Tarzan Massa is 14 to 1. He's a thoroughly professional dog. He produced it. I mean, you talked about some dogs who will take a few runs. Tarzan Massa is always a dog who just produces. You could just set your clock by him. It's out, gone, and if it's not good enough, it's not good enough. But most of the time, it is good enough. That's the type of dog he is. He just ran his race. Callaway Kinnegar obviously flew home, and there was only a short hit or something in it. In the end of the heat, but I thought that was a terrific performance. And like you said, Hope's Teddy, he's one of the things. This is the problem with a competition like this. You could really get carried away by a performance like that the other night and go, "Wow, he's going to win the Easter Cup." But it's a case of seeing, or trying to gauge how much each of them are going to improve. He's inexperienced enough that he's going to improve naturally like that. Other dogs are going to improve because they haven't had a run for a while and whatever else. But like they were two heats where I could understand Hope Teddy's a 7 to 1 chance for outright. Not sure that I want to back him because I'm just not sure where I stand with all the rest of the dogs in the competition just yet. But that's the type of competition the Easter Cup is, as we talked about. It's so early season. It's difficult to get a proper gauge on what you're looking at. But I really like both performances. Tarzan Massa because it's exactly what I always expect from him, and Hope Teddy because it's a relatively lightly raced dog who's actually shown something quite, I wouldn't say exceptional, but not far off it.
Well, what he had shown was exceptional early speed in his previous two starts at
Yeah.
Shelbourne Park. He's now 3 from 3 at Shelbourne Park. And what I wanted to see on Saturday night was whether he got to the line over 550 yards. And that's what we
Mm.
saw. So I've seen enough because I was blown away by his sprint run on February 22nd. And then, of course, to back it up the following week in good company over 525 yards March 1st. So three different races, three different sets of traps, three different tests, and he's come through each and every one of them. And we have to remember he's a brother to one of our favourites, a full brother to one of
Mm.
our favourites from a repeat mating to Balnabula Ed. And he's certainly sharper than Balnabula Ed was, but it's clear he has, nearly as much talent, and who knows, he may well prove to be as talented in time. Sam, you took notice. You've cut him to 7 to 1. I can understand why. I would suggest that if you had gone double figures, you probably would have been knocked over.
Yeah, we were worded up before the first round. A very good judge who I know quite well, Raymond McHugh, actually flagged it up to us and said, I think if there's one of them that you're too big on, it's him. And I think he's been proven right in that first round. The obviously showed ferocious early pace. As you said, the question mark was how he'd hit the line. He didn't seem to be struggling too much late on. I think the only issue I'd have is he dived violently left. If he gets drawn further out than trap three, he may just encounter some problems out of the lids. And then the question is he the type of dog to win from behind? And maybe not. But I think if he keeps getting decent draws and the pace he's got a good chance of leading most of these every race. It could just be draw dependent.
Yeah, that sort of came as a surprise to me. Don't get me wrong, he may well have edged in left from in his previous two starts, but I didn't see it happening quite as dramatically as that. And yes, he could get away with it the other evening. He had Azerite and JT Craze on his inside, two stronger in greyhounds. JT Craze is obviously loads of pace, loads of four-bend pace, but you wouldn't have expected him to be razor sharp at the lids. And hopes Teddy may not just get away with it another night when he's maybe even further out, because we see these inside seeds, they often have 4 and 5 in races. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Behind him, I thought Hazel Hill Bucko, of course, last year's Laurels runner-up, ran a big race. Tommy, second week in a row, he's after catching my eye. I remember him from down in Limerick, showing loads of early speed, and Curraheen on occasion going up well. He hasn't gone up very strongly in Shelbourne Park just yet, but if he puts it all together, he's showing enough to suggest he could be a player in major competitions in 2025.
It could because he was a wide seed in the Laurels last year, and you don't get away with it being a wide seed in the Laurels unless you have exceptionally early pace, and that's what he was showing. He was showing enough pace to get to turn close. in the sharpest four-bend competition in the country, and obviously staying on well in the Laurel final. So yeah, just needs to sharpen up a small bit in Shelbourne Park. I would say about Hope's Teddy. I think it's Ventry Faith and Check for Cash are in 2-1 next week. That'll be interesting too. Not that they both flashed out the other day, but they're both capable of flashing out. Just be a nice little test of them next weekend. But in the same heating, actually, I thought Clonbrine Treaty, I thought it was a really good performance. What I loved about it is this might be completely off the mark, but that wouldn't be unusual for me. I thought Clonbrine Treaty actually broke well enough.
He was talking. He's cut off full flow there. You have to go back, Tommy. I'm afraid you have to cut out slightly. Sam, just while we're on the subject, Clonbrine Treaty, you kept him at around double figure odds, 14-1 or so.
Yeah, I think obviously he was beaten fair and square at the weekend. But as we've touched on, I mean, you look at the prices, and if you look at them in isolation, it's quite easy to look at the name at the side of the price and think, wow, that looks big. But you can do it for almost half of the field. I mean, I've had a look ahead to the weekend, and I do like him at the weekend. I think he's drawn well. If he shows the same pace that he did to the bend the other night, I think he could sneak round out wide. And he's definitely the type of dog to progress as the tournament goes on. And he's been there and done it before.
Yeah, he certainly has. Obviously, the defending champion Clonbrine Treaty, the talk was always that he didn't quite handle Shelbourne Park like he handled Limerick. He handled it in last year's final, and you only need to handle it on the one night, I suppose. We'll get back to the opening heat. Just Tarzan Massey beat Callaway Kinnegar. We didn't really mention Callaway Kinnegar. He's now your 5-1 clear favourite. I see where you're going with that. Obviously, as one or two of the powerful greyhounds sort of have gone by the wayside. All of a sudden, Callaway Kinnegar, you look at the early speed shown in so many of the heats, he could be a situation of a stalking greyhound, a dog that's going to be picking up the early pace greyhounds when things get sort of cut and thrust towards the end of the competition.
Well, the way we've looked at it is obviously, like you said, there's a lot of pace there. Some of the strong runners have gone out. And it's a case of if there is any scrimmaging up front, he might just plot his way around. I mean, if you stopped the heat on Saturday night at the first bend, he's the last dog, and he's the last dog by some way. So to finish as close as he did was quite impressive. One of my notes was I thought he used his brain. He's kind of taken a bit of a pull at the first bend and moved inside, and then he's really flown home. And I think, there's dogs that maybe in a 2-dog trial they might beat him by pure early pace, but I think given there could be a bit of crowding, he's quite draw dependent. I don't think he is as much, and he can kind of plot his way around from the first bend and pick dogs off.
He is the one greyhound in the competition where we're not the one greyhound, but he's certainly one of the few greyhounds in the competition. He can go ridiculously fast. He probably wasn't absolutely at his 100% best during the Derby. He still finished third in that competition. But if you look back in his juvenile Derby form, it was absolutely sensational. Are you thinking of fundraising? We have the vision to make your event a success. See fundraising at its best. Visit www.gogreyhoundracing.ie. Well, as you can see, we have the exiled dub back. He is actually exiled. He's not in his normal yawl base, actually down in God's country in County Roscommon, where myself and Tommy spent many a summer's afternoon shooting the breeze and shooting pool. Who we kidding? Tommy, you were in full stride there about Clonbrine Treaty.
Yeah, well, the way I read Clonbrine Treaty is obviously the dog's been around a long time. He's achieved a huge amount, way more than most dogs will ever achieve. And he's I think to get the best out of him, you can't be thinking about the Derby. You've got to be thinking about early season. And I loved the performance the other night. I thought he looked very sharp. I don't mind that he faded a bit. I just love that he broke so well, showed so much early pace. He didn't get around in front and whatever else. None of that mattered. I just thought there was way more than I thought I'd see from him the other day, just in terms of sharpness. And I don't think he's like. And to my mind, it's the way it has to be. I don't think he's that far away from being near his peak, and he can obviously win
which is an achievement in itself. Like, considering he had a serious gracilis injury, he's after coming back. They've given him plenty of gallops, plenty of trials, and you saw the evidence the other evening. And his reward has been a very kind draw on the next night, which we can't sleep on. Like, he does look guaranteed. If he comes away on terms, he's probably guaranteed to qualify. He's probably guaranteed to nearly go around in front if he traps on terms. And all of a sudden, then it's another run under the belt, and he's in the semi-finals of an Easter Cup.
Look, you can take nothing for granted with a dog that's coming back from an injury, and who knows how much a run like that will take out of him and all that. But I would suspect if no connections in that. I would say he'll step up nicely from that. I would be really, really encouraged by that run now, to be honest.
Yeah, myself and Sam spoke about Callaway Kinnegar, Tommy. You'd be satisfied with that run. He showed loads of pace. Sam was suggesting he almost showed, he almost took a little pull at the opening corner to slip inside the gap. He showed brain power. He's now the 5-1 clear favourite. And I suppose as the early pace is coming to the fore, his price was always going to shorten given the fact that all the early pacers can't go around in front, whereas it doesn't matter where he turns, he's a big danger.
Well, he's definitely capable of going a length and a half, 2 lengths quicker to the bend. If he's drawn right, and he's a bit sharper, and whatever else. But he did track extremely cleverly at the first bend, I thought, the other night, and showed he left it late to show his pace, because actually the laddie that showed remarkable pace down the back. Another dog who feels like he's been around since I was a child. Himself, Brian Treaty, and a few others. They feel like they've been around forever, but like his paces, the lad he does paces all there anyways. But he's just,
Yeah.
again, with him, isn't it always a case of, will he put it all together? He's sensational when he does, and will he put it all together? He's as Sam said, he's stuck through in fourth place. That just might be the bit of luck he
I'll
needed.
tell you what, he screamed through in fourth place. Like it was one of
He
those
did,
where
yeah,
it was
yeah,
not what you call, quietly under the radar. Like this was
yeah,
an unbelievable run in fourth place. Like the pace he showed into that third bend, as Sam alluded to
yeah.
earlier on, was absolutely unbelievable. If you don't mind, we'll skip Heat 3 for a few minutes. We'll come back to it. There's a bit to be discussed in that. But let's get into the more straightforward heats, just that we have to talk about. Hawkfield Blue. Sent off an odds-on favourite, and it basically looked a gimme. Sam, he got loose early, raced onto a clear advantage. There was no real early speed up against him. And when Superfast Gordon missed the kick, nothing was really going to get involved. Desmond Swift, I'm afraid, went lame. Hawkfield Blue was just simply too good for Ginger McGee. He's one of those really decent competition dogs, and he'll often find one or two too good for him. But this is the type of competition where it's the more established performers that he's not up against young, sort of upcoming dogs. He knows his task at hand, and if he does things right, who knows? He could be a player.
Yeah, I think if you played at the short prices the other night, there was never really a moment's doubt. He got out like you'd want him to, and he pulled clear from the first bend. Really, obviously there was a bit of trouble and unfortunate injury behind. Bit like you say, he did his job. He's pretty consistent. I think that's not a million miles off his best run, a 29.50, 29.40 kind of dog. Like I say, if he keeps getting his draw and gets out right and avoids trouble, he could go quite a long way. But I think you touched on it anyway. The main kind of protagonist in with him didn't track to the bend as well, got a little bit of trouble, and it was race over from an early stage.
Yeah, it was all pretty straightforward. Tommy Kilcolgan Whitney was back in second spot. She's a big finisher. She doesn't win too often, although she's found something of a winning vein. She won two in a row at Limerick back in February. They were a long time coming, but good to see her running well for Niels O'Connell. And of course, Karen Gagan, who we will give a mention to later on. She sponsored the Connacht Derby, of course. But Kilcolgan Whitney in second, Superfast Gordon third. But Hawkfield Blue, it was as an odds-on favourite should win.
Absolutely. And look at if he's going to win a competition, it's going to be an early season competition. A competition at this level, it's going to be an early season competition. So you'd be delighted that he ran superbly in the Gold Cup, and just able to smash out and really really show his early pace over the extra few yards to the bend. So yeah, he's 16-1 as well. If you like him, there's a bit of value there.
Yeah, of course, he ran up the Gold Cup earlier in the year, back in February. We'll move on to Heat 5. The winner here was Mairead's Prince. You see Yorkie Ollie starting at odds on, and you ask yourself why. He started his career with such a bang, but his level of consistency since then has been not quite up to scratch. I could never have him at odds on in any contest, and here we are. He finishes third, but Mairead's Prince did exactly what he'd done the previous week. He paced up, he goes around the outside of two challengers, leads into the third bend, and powers on to win by 2 lengths. That 3-1 looks very generous compared to the 4-5 about Yorkie Ollie.
Well, I felt for Yorkie Ollie again. No, I didn't back him, but I wouldn't back him at odds on either. But I thought he might be around about the 2-1 mark, and that he'd be worth taking a chance on. His issue is those first 40, 50 yards. I mean, he has early pace, but he seems to not hit the ground running, and it's getting him into all sorts of trouble because he has loads of pace. But I wouldn't like to take Anthony away from the winner either. And Raised Prince is a terrific dog. Um, yeah, like perfectly professional winner. I think Fetchy Faith has been around, feels like another dog that's been around a long time, keeps doing, putting good runs at this level. But Yorkie Ollie, it's just there will be a race. There will be a race very soon where Yorkie Ollie is the greatest certainty of all time, and we will all back it,
And
and it will win.
he'll be priced accordingly.
Not so sure. I'm not so sure. At some stage, as Sam knows, there's a balance between where the punter thinks that the dog should be and where the bookmaker is willing to take him on. And there'll be a point very soon where we'll find the right race and the right price, and we'll all punt him and he will win. But we
Yeah,
might be broke by then, maybe. We might be broke by then.
the 29:32 trial prior to his run the other evening suggests that the engine is still very much intact, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just a case of confidence booster he needs. But at the moment, I just couldn't be getting involved at shortish prices like that. Ventry Fate ran well in second, but Maraid's Prince, you know, after beating Carmack King the previous week in good style, I, I thought he deserved to be probably a fraction shorter than the 3-1. But yeah, he emerged a good winner for Fraser Black, and it's great to see Fraser with the winner. Sam, these three that or the front three that qualified, none of them are amongst the really sort of top order of the betting. But was there any nibbles for any of the three?
Let me just double check for you. Hang on. No, not really for these three. I think it was one of those heats, like I say, it was a professional performance by the winner, and could keep qualifying, getting a nice draw, staying on well. You touched on Yorkie Ollie. He's got a few defeats now at the side of his name in regards to odds on and short prices. And like Tommy said, if he's one of them that's in your tracker and you keep going, maybe you will hit one day. But I think it does all need to click for him. But no, I thought it was a professional performance by the winner. And although the time wasn't as great as some of the others, I thought won it well, and we'll have another chance again at the weekend.
Yeah, simple as that. Hawkfield Abbey was the fourth qualifier there, a second Hawkfield qualifier for Ginger and Jerry Connors. Moving on to the last of the six heats, and uh, I, I actually tipped up Cushy the Best anti-post to a man. Looking at the head of the market, I said, I'm not sure there's enough for early speed. Cushy the Best looks a bit big. I think he was 25-1 or something at the time. He is all about early speed, Tommy. And this was a race where really all he had to do was trap on terms. He was going to go around in front. Untold Dollar has loads of pace, but he's not the most consistent at boxes as we've seen in the Derby. Dole Falcon's not renowned as an early speedster. Barefoot and Song actually led around the corner in the Limerick Oaks. But she's switching back to Shelbourne Park, and first time in those traps in a while. Labana Cody and Ballymac were neither of them were likely to challenge Cushy the Best early, and in the end he put his best foot forward. I thought it was a very pleasing display by this son of All for the Best. Of course, his sire was a real powerhouse at Shelbourne Park, over 575, 600 yards for John Crod and Diana Brody. And here is his son, Cushy the Best, who's all about brute early speed. Hard not to be impressed by Cushy the Best, Tommy.
No, no, and the reason is that um, there was never a point of danger in the race. Do you
No.
know what I mean? You look behind you, you see the ball back, and you're going, "There's a power pack finisher. He could get close now." And he did pull 2 lengths clear barefoot on Song, who showed lovely pace down into the third bend. But he never looked like he was going to get close to Cushy the Best. That's the real beauty of that performance. I mean, sometimes it's hard to gauge them, what we've talked about earlier in early in the season, early in competitions like this. But I love the fact that it was kind of a never, never, never. You're just not going to catch me. Like, I'm going to do a time here, and you're not going to catch me. That's it. And like, I think were there 10 or 11 spots between the fastest and slowest heats.
Yeah. There's nothing
That's
between them.
that's a
Like
dream for
that,
BresBet.
yeah, like 57 was the slowest and 46 was the fastest. Do you know what I
11
mean? Like
spots,
it's
a length
11
and a half.
spots. It's so rare you see that, especially at this level of
Yeah.
competition. You expect something to get loose and do a big run, and maybe one or two messy heats, and they're one. But like, it's so competitive, yeah, and it is a great blend of early speed and stamina. There's a lovely combination of type of greyhound that are left in the competition. So I suppose from an anti-post book situation, Sam, you sort of have to be wary of the big each way shouts that will keep qualifying, but also keep an eye on those early speedsters that might just never see a rival.
You do. It's a competition where you are happy to lay though in. Like I say, it's just jam packed, full of quality, and we touched on before. You look at the names and you think, wow, that looks big. But you can say it for 10 or 12 of them. It really is a great competition. I mean, the heat we've just touched on, our three biggest libs are all from that
Yeah.
heat.
Sorry, Sam was breaking up
So
there.
I think some people, my biggest liability. Oh, can you hear me?
Sorry, what? Sorry, you broke up there for a second. What is your biggest
Sorry.
liability?
Our biggest liability is untold dollar.
Okay, well,
And obviously, typically snuck through in fourth by a head. So that was almost one avoided. But the second one is the one you just mentioned, the Cushy Dog. So I think they must have had the same train of thought as you.
yeah.
Um, and then the last one is the Bold Falcon. I'm not quite sure I'm as on board on that as anymore, but I think that pace wins races. And I think that the other two are a bit more likely.
Yeah, Untold Dollar is a tricky enough heat the next night. Obviously, he's the laddie Dan Callaway kind of gear up his inside. So if he's not sort of stripping fitter, he'll find himself very vulnerable in the latter stage, especially given the fact that he's not what you'd call a flying starter. Cushy the best in four will go fast. Our pal Yorkie Ellie's in five, and Mustang Fever's out in six. So it's an interesting heat. Untold Dollar need to be doing things right, Sam. You'll be hoping he doesn't get around that corner in front. If he doesn't, well, he will definitely be vulnerable from the third bend on the evidence of the other evening. It's time for the elephant in the room, gentlemen. We have to go back to Heat 3, and this was a dead heat between Mustang Fever and Boyle Sports Bob, and just behind them in third was Riverside Scotch. It was actually hard to see the video for this because obviously Unanimous Panther was lame at the finish. Hopefully he'll be looked after. A big 87-pound dog, of course, last year's Produce 6 champion, top class greyhound for Pat Buckley. We send out our commiserations to his connections. Hopefully he'll be back on the mend very shortly indeed. But this was the big talking point of the night. Boyle Sports Bob got himself cut off at traps by Mustang Fever, took a dive right up the inside. Riverside Scotch went up well. Mustang Fever and Riverside Scotch had a great battle to the third bend where Mustang Fever just got the better of that argument, but Boyle Sports Bob was at this point sort of poised in third to challenge. When Mustang Fever swung wide off the last bend, Boyle Sports Bob was forced to go up her inside. I think he was a bit ticked off by her, to be honest. He's early in the season. He's feeling bullish in himself. He charged up the home straight and he took the quickest of glances you can possibly have before putting a head down and joining her on the line to dead heat. The stewards decided that he had done enough to require that he needed one clearance trial. He's down dead heat, awkward run in. Sam, from a sponsor, from a betting point of view, I've never come across a dog last year that during the English Derby and the Irish Derby, you'd ask someone, "Oh, you have any interest?" And they go, "Yeah, I have a few quid each way on Boyle Sports Bob." Like he is one of those anti-post dogs. Was there any few quid for him, or was it just the trade was too slow to even to represent it? But
we've not laid him, but from obviously we've put up the bonus this year. I thought it was a dog that could have gone to Sheffield had he won it. I thought it was the type of dog that might have ran well there.
yeah, I was driving out to Shelbourne Park the other evening, and I tend to these days, especially on a Saturday night when there's traffic on the other side, I tend to drive around the back and come out the back gate where the kennels are. And the first fan I came across happened to be Paul Hennessy's, and Paul was Paul was he was upset and he was disappointed. But Paul is a bit like that in a sense where he went, you know, what will be, right? So be it. That's fine. We'll concentrate now on Toaster, he says. But he says, he said it's the wrong decision. Susan wasn't quite as quite as calm. I can understand their view. It wouldn't be for me. The decision, but that's it. And I suppose Shelbourne Park's loss will be Toaster's gain because that's where he's going. He was runner-up in English Derby last year, and I would suggest he'll probably get a chance to have one more spin now at Toaster. Whereas if he'd gone out at the Easter Cup later in the competition or going through to the final, he would have had very little time to get ready for the English Derby. But now, perhaps it could be a blessing in disguise. But anyway, it's one of those things, and we move on. In behind Mustang Fever, of course, we've got to give her a mention. She's been running so well. She flew in a couple of trials around Limerick. She won in 28:12 at Shelbourne Park, 29:62 trial over the 550 yards. I don't know why she screwed out so badly at traps. She doesn't often do that. In fact, there was a time where she was a wide seed, but I would have always thought she'd be better as an inside seed. But the other evening, she certainly ran as a wide seed. I thought she ran her heart out. Riverside Scotch for a greyhound who I cannot wait to see over 750 yards. I thought he ran his heart out back in third spot. He's a great little dog for Rachel and Graham Holland. He's not that little. He's 79 pounds. But yeah, listen, there was displays to be taken out of the race, Tommy. But it's just one of those things where it's uncomfortable talking about it. It's comfortable viewing it, but it is what it is. Boyle Sports Bob will not take his place in the second round of the Easter Cup.
Yeah, look, it's unsatisfactory to me because of the repercussions of the decision, which I say are difficult to make. I'm just uncomfortable with it. I'm disappointed with it. Um, but hey, look, if you're put in a position as a steward, you have to make your decisions and you have to stick by them. And they've done. There's not a lot we can do about it. But it wasn't for me. It just
No.
wasn't for me.
And it could have ramifications. Check for Cash has gone through as the fifth place finisher there. He's drawn on the inside in the next round, and he drove straight off the corner on Saturday night. You know, Ventry, Faith, Hopes, Teddy the Bull, Falcon, Hazelhill, Bucko, and Tarzan Massai. Just better be careful if Check for Cash is driving up the inside on that opening corner. So these things can have ramifications, but I've no doubt in 10, 15 races' time, and he may only have 10 more races in his career, Boyd Sports Bob. Paul Hennessy tends to stick with the top competitions for the likes of this type of greyhound. He could have an English derby and an Irish derby. That could be the end of the days for Boyle Sports Bob. He'll be 4 years of age in October, but you know. I doubt we'll ever see this again or anything like it again from Boyle Sports Bob. You know, not that I'm saying we saw much from him anyway, but I don't think it's in his makeup, and I hope that we're proven right down the line. Four wonderful quarterfinals to look forward to on Saturday night. We won't get into them at this point. There's a bit too much work to do, but anything that jumps off from the page, Tommy, I think Clonbrine Treaty is a great draw if he's ready to take control. But the final heat looks pretty hot. Deladdy Da, Callaway Kinnegare, Untold Dollar, Cushy the Best, Yorkie Ollie, and Mustang Fever. Perhaps the feature race of the round, Tommy.
Look, I think if I'm being honest about the entire first round, the that bit of pace from Callaway Kinnegare from the last bend to home was the most pace I saw in the first round, and hence the reason he's absolutely 100% the right favourite in my opinion outright. Now I'm not in a rush to back him 5-1, although in fact if you were inclined to back him and you were to back him each way quarterly odds for three places, I think you're getting your money back in a tiny bit of profit with it because it's going to be hard to keep out of that places. I mean, slightly bigger prices, Clonbrine Treaty and Tarzan Massai are both. I think Clonbrine Treaty showed enough to suggest that he's not 4 runs away from being back to his best. He's one or two, and Tarzan Massai is just a great professional. So maybe the three I'd pick out of it so at the moment, but I'd say that's not really narrowing it down very well for anybody. But just that pace, last bent to home, that was from Callaway Kinnegare. That was the best pace that I saw in the first round.
Yeah, Sam, you're happy with your favourite anyway.
Yeah, I think we touched on it earlier. He showed a brain, which is a fantastic trait, especially when there is so much pace likely to be in front of you. He can pick his way through a field, and yeah, I think we've got the right favourite. I think Tom just touched on it. It's not even necessarily from a win perspective. Is the type of dog that's going to keep qualifying, or it's going to take a lot to stop him from qualifying. And on that basis, some of these are kind of away and gone type dogs that if they don't get away, they're probably out. Whereas he's a little bit the opposite.
Will you be pricing up the quarterfinals?
It's something we'll look to towards the weekend. The problem we have is you just don't get a feed for Shelbourne until the last round, and it's a bit of a shame because obviously there is interest there, and should there be enough interest, we will look to do it. It's just one of those things. It's very laborious process with the system we've got and things, and it's quite hard to do. I mean, it's possibly something where if somebody wants a prize, if they want to come and request it with us, we can lay it a different way rather than doing the whole race due to the process.
You never request a
Yeah.
price from a bookmaker.
Never
Never.
request a price. Never request a price. What you do is
No,
request
no.
a price a dog in the same heat,
The second one.
and then they might price it up anyway, and you might put a
Yeah,
bigger price than the one you want.
request a different dog you don't fancy whatsoever.
Gentlemen, it's a great BresBet Easter Cup. Just, am I right in saying, Sam, you're going to stick with Callaway Kinnegare for the outright?
Yeah, and also Tarzan Massai, I was really impressed, and I think he's got a fantastic draw in the next round. He'll keep himself out of the way, out wide, keep showing that early pace. I think he'll go a long way. But as we've touched on, if you miss your break, there's a big chance you're gone.
Yeah. Tommy, what's your idea of the winner?
No, like I said, look, it's probably Callagher Kinnegare just from that bit of pace alone that I saw the last day. But I think at bigger prices, I think there's a bit of value in Clonbrine Treaty and Tarzan Massey.
Good. We're going to be wrapping it up very shortly. Just want to mention a couple of bits before we go. Of course, the Kirby Memorial, the Conn Kirby Memorial kicks off at Limerick on Saturday night. It's going to be an unbelievable few weeks down at Limerick. Keep an eye out for the draw later today, tomorrow. Great competition. That'll be live on sisracing.tv through the competition. We'll be writing that soon as well. Obviously, this BresBet Easter Cup continues on Saturday night, the quarterfinals. Last Saturday night, or Friday night, shall I say, we saw the final of the Kilcolgan Castle Connacht Derby. Great to see the Connacht Derby back on the calendar, Tommy, and it went to Magical Mag, trained by Pat Guilfoyle, 3018, daughter of Ballymac Cashout and Mystical Luna. She's a talented type. Her kennel companion, Epic Ace, was taken out of the race. It was a 5-dog affair, but calendar, Tommy. I remember the Connacht Derby from years gone by. Some really good dogs have won it.
Yeah, great to see it back. But you'd hope there'll be some sign of buoyancy in Connacht and a bit of a boost for Greyhound racing just in general terms. It's a good sign. We need plenty of people in it at the moment.
Yeah, Galway is doing things right over the last couple of years. The reintroduction of the Oaks, now the Derby. Great to see it, and it's a cracking track.
It's a fabulous track, an absolutely fabulous track, and we don't get the chance to look at it often enough or talk about it often enough. But when we do, I'm always deeply impressed with it.
Yeah, as am I. I want to mention the two semi-finals of the Axel Global Resources Limited Cork Oaks at Shelbourne or Curreen Park on Saturday night. Tommy, Silverhill Freya, she's been doing absolutely so much right over the last few months. Of course, the Christmas Oaks winner, she won the opening heat in good style at 9-4. Glengar Marth the second, Bush Park Mel back in third. A cracking little contest that. And the other heat went right to the wire, dead heat between Unanimous Roxy and Dealish Nora. Dealish Nora had set the pace, got outpaced, hit a flat spot down the back straight, rallied. Grange Clare Lady was back in third at 4-6. This is a cracking little final. 6 top quality bitches, Tommy. A few of these we'll see in the Oaks later in the year.
Absolute certainty. It's really good quality. But Curraheen deserve to get those sort of greyhounds down there because they do run a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, my thanks again to you. You're looking forward. Will you get over to Shelbourne Park at any point?
No, I won't be. Carl Perry will be going over for a final, I think.
Speaking of Carl Perry, we're going to be showing him in a moment or two. But before I go, I just want to remind you, if you are watching on social media channels, please give us a like and a share. It makes a big difference to get our message out there, to get Greyhound racing across the board. And of course, Barry Drake will be back with us on Thursday with his normal Talking Dogs podcast. So keep an eye out for that. Also check Talking Dogs Daily. We'll have news stories up there throughout the week. But that's it from us on this Tuesday. Of course, we are back now. We'll be seeing you every Monday for the foreseeable future. My thanks again to Sam Tweed, the trading manager at BresBet, and of course to the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, who was in particularly good form today. There was no real rant, there was no giving out from him. He must be getting mellower in older age. But that's it from us on this Tuesday. Before we go, we're going to leave you with a brief chat I had with Carl Perry of BresBet. Of course, a man who has a rich history in our sport.
Well, Carl, we're here at Shelbourne Park. This is the 1927 lounge. It wasn't here last time you were here.
No, it's all new, and I've been lucky to get the guided tour this morning. It's fantastic. It's what a wonderful job they've done.
We're just a few metres away from the Shelbourne Park Museum. You can actually hear the commentaries in the background in there. It's always a great atmosphere in that room. It's always Derby final night in there, it seems. But there is one beautiful trophy in there, the 1956 Easter Cup trophy. It was the first trophy that was actually donated to the Shelbourne Park Museum, and I suppose it highlights the history that the Easter Cup has in Irish greyhound racing as well as greyhound racing around the world, and must be proud to be a sponsor.
Yeah, very proud of it, and like I said, we was never ever tasted. As soon as we got the chance to take up the sponsorship Easter Cup, it was easy decision, and we're very glad to be associated with it.
You sometimes have these lucky sponsors. We're definitely going to refer to you as lucky sponsors. Like when you look at those 3 names, we referenced it already this morning. We were talking Susie Sapphire, Swords Rex, Clonbrine Treaty. 3 exceptional greyhounds, 2 Kirby winners, an Oaks, a Derby. Just incredible greyhounds, and I suppose there's a tough act to follow this year.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, the race has thrown up champions and, like I said, Derby winners, and but that's what you expect with the Easter Cup. That's the history of the Easter Cup carries. It's the first big race of the year, and you're looking for your Derby dogs for that year.
And the beauty is, as a sponsor, you don't have to drum up interest. Like, the interest is already there, so you can just roll with it, and you will be offering obviously prices, anti-post heat prices, and you'll be doing it pretty early.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this competition. When it comes to pricing and looking at the anti-post market, it's very easy to do because the class of the dogs that is entered and the calibers on there, there's no hidden form. It's there. It's a lot easier to price than some normal competitions.
Yeah, you're pricing up classic contenders, like dogs that we know. You may have one or two youngsters coming through, but it's generally the well-established trackers that are there, and I suppose that's why the Easter Cup, the form holds up.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to be very confident in the market that you want to lay good dogs in good markets, and it makes our job a little bit easier. The Easter Cup being so deep in quality.
€25,000 a winner. It's a nice little carrot as well.
Excellent prize money, yeah, and it's and this year we obviously with a little bonus on our top as well that we could make it 35.
You'll have to. It has to be a generous bonus because some of our lads are a bit set in their ways. The bonus on offer is that if they go over, the Easter Cup winner goes on to win the Steel City Cup at Sheffield in in October. £10,000 bonus, sterling, of course. We don't mind taking a bit of sterling off you, and that's already worth £15,000. So an Easter Cup and a Steel City Cup, all of a sudden you're talking the guts of €60,000. You're talking £25,000 and €25,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, so hopefully that's enough to entice the winner over, and we'd love to see it. We'd love to see somebody, an Irish entry come and take on the bonus. You
weren't tempted to stick your money into your pocket and stick your hand into your pocket and shelve out for a potential contender? No.
No, well, in the past maybe, but nowadays, we've run a few pups, but we hopefully we'll breed one might be good enough.
Yeah, we spoke earlier on about Gilo Vegas, 2014. It's hard to believe. Nearly 11 years ago, he won the Sprint and Derby final night. A special night for you, obviously as trainer.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it was a roller coaster of a night. I remember he was very late getting here with his travelling problems, and we just got in the nick of time. But yeah, that was all. The third race into it, that was all a distant memory. I mean, it was a fantastic night, probably one of the best nights wedding racing ever, and it's something that we're very proud of. That we come to Ireland and won a race on Derby final night. We used to come to the Derby final, so to have a runner and a winner was fantastic.
Well, who knows? You're breeding a few. You have some speedy ladies, particularly. You never know. There could be an Irish Derby final sprint appearance again in the near future.
Yeah, well, if we ever had one good enough, we would always come. We would never afraid to travel with one.
I'm sure we'll see plenty of you over the next few weeks when the Easter Cup gets underway, and obviously as sponsors BresBet, you want to be on the ground, you want to be seen, and I'm sure there'll be a few of you coming over at some point.
Yeah, we'll hopefully bring a team over for finals night, and we'll have some representatives during the competition as well, and we can't wait for it to start.
Of course, we have podcasts to look forward to. We have plenty of writing to do. It's a competition that sells itself, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's like for us, it's the first competition of the year that we're involved with sponsorship, and we look forward to this kicking off. A good 2025.
So that's it. Year 4 of the BresBet Easter Cup at the new Shelbourne Park. It has a nice ring to it.
Definitely.
Thanks, Carl. Best of luck.
Thanks, Ian.
This podcast was brought to you by Greyhound Racing Ireland.